Hi everyone, good day, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. On behalf of the Future Armenian Initiative and Austrian Armenian Forum, I would like to welcome you all to our panel discussion on the topic of effective cooperation between Armenia and Armenian diaspora. My name is Sona Tsaturyan and I will be your today's host, your moderator. I'm the co-founder and the board member of the Austrian Armenian Forum. I will talk about it later a bit. And just quickly, I would just ask our listeners and viewers on Zoom maybe just to mute their microphones. And of course, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat or in the comment section on Facebook Live, and we'll pick up the questions and hopefully discuss it in the panel afterwards. And I suppose we'll have also a couple of words about the Future Armenian Initiative from Talar, because she's the co-founder and she's today with us on our panel. Maybe a couple of brief words on the Austrian Armenian Forum, because as I said, I'm the co-founder and the board member of the Austrian Armenian Forum. Founded last November, our goal is to act as a bridge builder between the two countries, Armenia and Austria. And we want to do it by organizing and co-organizing these kind of events and providing a platform for the exchange of ideas, and at the end of the day to strengthen the cooperation in the fields of politics or economics between these two countries. Now, turning to our event, as I said, we have two panelists with us today, starting with Ms. Talar Kazanjian. She is the co-initiator of the Future Armenian Initiative, the COO of Armenia 2041 organization, as well as the former executive director of AGBU Armenia. She has a vast experience in nonprofit management, and I'm very happy to have you, Talar, with us today. And turning to Mr. Raphael Der Agopian, again, president of the Association in Support of Artsakh in France, former president of AGBU París. I personally know Raphael when we met in November during the war on our Regalia initiative from AGBU. And again, thank you, Raphael, for being with us today. Maybe to give our listeners a brief roadmap of what are we going to discuss today and what are the points we are going to touch today. As I said, our topic today is the successful cooperation, or how do we achieve a cooperation between Armenia and diaspora, how we can foster the cooperation even more. And for that, I think it will be right to start with the why, namely why it is important to have an effective cooperation between Armenia and diaspora, and how our panelists' personal experience in different diaspora institutions gave them an idea of what is a cooperation in terms of the Armenian diaspora. And then we will move in to look at the obstacles currently hindering, so to say, the effective cooperation between Armenia and Armenian diaspora. And at the end, we'll have a look into the future, maybe defining an agenda for the Armenian diaspora and understanding what is the involvement and what is the role of the current diaspora institutions such as Future Armenian Initiative or AGBU or other institutions in building the future and uniting the Armenian diaspora. So maybe, Raphael, starting with you, as I pointed out, you have a vast experience in working in AGBU and in other diaspora institutions. Why do you think, why did you engage, first of all, in these roles? And why do you think it is important for us to address the effective cooperation between Armenia and diaspora?
Thank you so much, Sona, and hello everyone. Thanks for joining. Well, two very deep questions actually. First, regarding my commitment to the Armenian community and in France, it's quite long actually. I was a teenager because I was a part of the summer camp of AGBU in France, and since then I never stopped, working for AGBU, but at large for the Armenian diaspora and the Armenian community in France. And I am very strongly French. I am born and raised. I was born and raised in Paris. I'm 100% French, but as Aznavour, I am 100% Armenian as well. And for me, these are very complementary and enriching, and they're not at all conflicting identities. On the contrary. And for me, since I was a teenager, I really wanted to do something for the Armenian diaspora, for the community whom I belong to. And very quickly, when I started as a counselor at the summer camp. And then when I turned 18, I realized that there was a gap between the people of 18 years old who just finished high school and the people who were already entering in their professional careers, so the young professionals that we have at AGBU. And between them, there was a complete gap. And all the friends that I had, all this youth was totally free, but without any frame, any organization or specific program for them. And that's where I wanted to create, and I did create AGBU Youth Paris, which was really the branch for youth before turning to the young professionals. And it worked well. And based on that, I was able to create then a program, which is called Arménie Terre de Vie, so 10 years ago in 2011, which is still nowadays working, and I'm very proud of that. And this summer they are going there for, again, for a campaign in Armenia. And the idea of this program is addressed not only for the Armenians of France, but also for French who are not with Armenian descent. And they go to Armenia and they create that bridge, which is so necessary for our country, but also for our identities, for diasporic Armenians, let's say. And this program is very interesting because it's focusing on education, also health and environment. So we focus our actions basically in schools, in the countryside, in Armenia, in Tavush, or even in Berzor the first time, which is Lachin. And based on that, then I wanted to continue, and AGBU asked me to become the chairman of AGBU Paris, the chapter of Paris, which I accepted, and I did that for 3 years. And now, since 2018, I am helping the kind of so-called ambassador of Artsakh in France, but he's not recognized. So let's say he's a represented, and I'm helping him with the association in support to Artsakh in France. We are doing a lot, to spread the word on Artsakh and sensitize, let's say, and the French people around these questions about Artsakh. And most recently with the war, it was extremely important when we see this kind of mediatical and media war that we faced also during that war. So it's something that burns inside of me, let's say. So, and again, it's really important to know where you come from, to understand where you're going. And me, I am French again, and I'm Armenian, and I cannot not do something. So that's why I'm very eager to see these kind of initiatives as the future Armenian initiatives, but others also. And I'm already supportive, I'm a signatory, and I encourage everyone to sign as well. And again, it's so important because the country that we have, Armenia, the Republic of Armenia, and I won't be long because Talar also needs to share her thoughts, but the country of Armenia itself cannot be sustainably, let's say, we cannot expect a future for Armenia without its diaspora. And today, as well, we cannot see, I think, a future for the Armenian diaspora worldwide if we do not have a strong and powerful Armenia to be proud of, So it's in both sides, in both senses. And if we do not foster both the diaspora and Armenia, we are going to struggle again and again, Whereas what happened recently with the 44 days war in Artsakh needs to be a kind of electroshock to the entire Armenian community worldwide. And we have to stop, again, talking about Hayastansis and Arev Medahai and Arev Elahai, etc. We are one nation, and that one nation needs a vision. that's clear.
Thank you, Raphael Jan. I think you touched again like on so many points, and I will probably agree more with most of them, and maybe picking up on a couple of them also and giving the word to Talar. Raphael mentioned the involvement of Armenians in so many diverse areas, from starting from education as well as to political involvement. And the Future Armenian Initiative, at the moment, like 2 of the 15 goals has, one of them is the Armenian diaspora unity, and you put focus on mutualism and trust between Armenia and the diaspora. And if I may quote it, it says to transform the relationship between the Armenia and diaspora. And the goal number 6 says to have a strong diaspora, so update and enhance diaspora's institutions. My question to you, Talar, will be now, based on so many issues that Raphael touched, and also these 2 goals that you defined, why do you see a need to transform the relationship? What is it that is missing that you think that that's something that should be tackled? That's why we have to transform it. And was it based on the latest experience of Artsakh war, or what are these problems that we had, well, way behind, like before the Artsakh war?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Sona. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy and really glad to be on this panel with you and with Rafi, that I know from a very long time. It is very important for the Future Armenian Initiative to engage as many young, talented people from around the world to understand their thoughts, to get an idea about how they see the future, what are the ways they see, the ideas and solutions to some of the problems that we have. So therefore, I really hope that this could be an example of future discussions and panels that we can organize with as many talented young people as possible from around the world. Sona, if you allow, I just want to go back and tell you a little bit more about the initiative itself in a few words, and then it could lead us immediately into talking about some of the points that you just mentioned. So this initiative was born, it's true that it was born because of the war, but in a way it was not only the result of the war. The whole atmosphere in the past few months, of course, it was really, a lot of people were feeling a lot of emotional, trauma overall, not only in Armenia but around the world. But even before that, Armenia 2041 as an organization, I want to talk a little bit about it. It was supposed to actually, and it's still supposed to, design the path that would lead us to the future in 20 years' time, let's say. And that's one of the reasons why this organization was founded. But then when the war started, the attention shifted a little bit. And instead of starting to design projects to put them forth and to start implementing them, like, for example, there was a plan to start a Future Today fund, which is a vast investment fund, could be quasi-sovereign, could be completely private, we're still looking at it, which was supposed to bring in something like $3 to $5 billion into Armenia's economy to revive a lot of the sectors, etc. All of those were put on hold in terms of projects, because there was another idea that we realized as a group, is that given the very serious historic moment that we are going through as a nation, we needed to come together to create exactly the vision that Rafi was talking about. Not just a state vision, not just a country vision, not just one organizational vision in the diaspora or 2 organizations, not a church vision, the national vision. The vision of this global nation, basically. And this vision requires an understanding and the ability and the willingness to look to the future. But as we realized, and in the unfortunate circumstances after the war, there was not enough appetite, and there was such a situation where people, up until even now, people are reluctant to think about the future. Things are very much unknown, things are unstable, unclear. And that is why this initiative was designed in a way where it could actually start talking about the future. It could stimulate discussions about the future And it wasn't necessarily supposed to be, for example, these are the only 15 goals and that's it. We're not going to talk about anything else. This is the way it's going to be. It's not instructive. It's rather something that is, bringing people together around this 15, because I'm sure that obviously, most of Armenians agree on those 15 points, and then discussing together collectively about what we understand by each one of those 15 and how we think we will reach those 15 goals. Right. So if we look at those 15 goals as the Armenian SDGs, right, the United Nations has Sustainable Development Goals. So and that's, their number is 17, ours is 15. But if we look at this 15 as the Armenian SDGs, perhaps what we can do is create and design and beef up the interior of those 15 goals to really understand what they mean and how we can reach them. And through this process, actually, we did engage a lot of people. For example, when we came up first when we designed those goals, we had 10 goals. So we sent it out to almost 1,000 experts that are close to the universe of this organization. And we got back almost 400 people's feedback, which we incorporated. And based on this feedback, the number grew from 10 to 15 goals. So basically, we understood that there were elements that we were not taking into consideration, which we should. And we put them all together under 15 and we launched it. We launched this initiative on April the 29th. So a few days more than 2 months ago. We really did not know, we did not have any expectations as to what would be the reception, how receptive people will be about this initiative. And I'm very happy to say that we have passed, 60,000, we are growing by the day. We are having discussions, as many as possible, some of them open discussions, public ones, some of them offline discussions, depending on the topic, and trying as much as possible to engage individuals, experts, regular people, young talents, as well as organizations. Because at the end of the day, it is very important that once this, at the end, this Future Armenian Initiative is a campaign, if you think about it, right? So it has a starting date and it will also have an end date. So when the end date arrives, we still haven't decided exactly when that end date will be, but we would really want to come out of this campaign with a very good agenda and a robust set of ideas as to what are the challenges that we are facing, how is it related to all of the goals that we're talking about, and how can we turn them into solutions and projects to be addressed. Now, let me try to answer the specific question that you asked, Sona Can. The relationship between Armenia and diaspora is a very interesting one. Armenia is not the first country to have a huge diaspora. We have seen other countries around the world that have diasporas. And I should say that each country goes through ups and downs in its relationship with its own diasporas. There is no magic potion. There is no secret recipe. But many countries have tried different ways of engaging their diaspora, and we have our own experience. Sometimes successful, sometimes not very successful. But there is one thing that is certain, it is that after the war, the relationship between the diaspora and Armenia needs to change. And the roles and the responsibilities that each side takes on itself and embarks on should be renegotiated and reshaped. Armenia, both as a state and as a society, should change and reform its views towards the diaspora. And the diaspora, whether organizations and regular people in the diaspora, should also redefine what they mean by their support for Armenia. Why are they supporting? Who are they supporting? And what's the vision towards which everyone is working towards? I think that's a very important thing because, emotionally, the diaspora has always been there for Armenia. I mean, we know it as a fact from based on different data points. One very important data point is that you still have $2 billion of remittances coming into Armenia from the Armenian diaspora every year, which is a wealth that none of the other regional countries could boast. And that's a very serious number, actually. It has its pros and cons, of course. We can talk about it if you want. But what I want to say is that when redefining this relationship, we have to bear in mind that we are in the 21st century, that the world is so interconnected that it's really not necessarily very important where you live in terms of your locality, physical presence, versus where you belong or where you want to belong, right? So those are all very moving, understandings in the world today. And we as Armenians, we have to benefit from them as much as possible, meaning that the diaspora should be very, very well connected and interconnected at a deeper level with Armenia itself and a lot of the processes happening in Armenia. And Armenia itself as a country should come out of its isolation through the diaspora and become a really big part of the movements and the trends that are happening in the world today. So I'll stop here and maybe we can engage in conversation and we can talk a lot about it a bit more later on as well.
Thanks, Talar.
Maybe Sona, if you might, because it's a very interesting question and topic, and I fully agree with you, Talar-chan. And there is something, if you remember well, so now when we were in Armenia in November during the war, we were invited by Armen Sargsyan, the Armenian president, and he told us something that really marked me and that really was true. He said, for 30 years that Armenia exists, the Republic of Armenia, we have been building a wall between the diaspora and Armenia. And I totally agree with that. And that's the change of strategy has to be now, because indeed, I mean, the diaspora emotionally, as you were saying, Talar, the diaspora has always been there, even before the independence of Armenia with the earthquake. We all remember the involvement of the diaspora, and since then it never stopped, And recently, most recently, when you think of the $200 million that were through the All Armenian Fund that were given by the diaspora, that were sent for the Artsakh war, it's a lot, yeah, indeed. But it's not enough, to be honest. And we could do even more if we were better organized, if there was such, a willingness from the Armenian state to, to engage and to embrace, its diaspora as a tool, but not just as a tool and let's say a cash machine, because unfortunately it is something that most of the people from the Armenian diaspora have been thinking for many years. They think that the diaspora is only worthy and only interesting if they send money to Armenia, and that's it. And we are not useful to Armenia in another way. And it's not true. I mean, we have so many experts, so many talents, so many people who are well-known, well-educated, and with their connections. And what you were saying about this amazing global world in which we have the opportunity to live right now, and that was completely emphasized by the COVID situation, the COVID crisis, because right now you can work with your laptop anywhere, so even if you work in a global company, you can go to Armenia and work from there, and you could still work in Texas while helping Armenia and on the other side, So it's amazing, and we have to use that indeed. And what I've seen when we were in Armenia in November during the war, I've seen many people like us from diaspora who wanted to do something and who could not stand just sitting on their chair, being there, in this confined and lockdown situation in their respective countries. And they were seeing their brothers in Armenia going to war at the age of 18 or 20, giving their lives, for the nation and for the future of Armenia. And we were there standing on our chairs, not doing and able to do something despite just sending money, So what I've seen is this richness, these incredible talents who were able to do something, going there in Armenia, engage, and at the same time, work for their own companies and own business, virtually. So that's amazing. Just to say that, indeed, we have been struggling a lot as a nation. And Armenia is still an enclave, it's a geopolitical strategy, its situation, and its border closed. We all know that. We know that Armenia has been suffering and has been an enclave for so many years. But the diaspora is an incredible tool. You know, it's a fantastic tool that we need to use. And we have to stop again. We have to kill that wall that Armen Sargsyan was talking about. We have to kill that wall, because right now we are just talking about one nation that struggles all together, and we have to move forward. So we have security issue, we have education issue, we have a geopolitical issue. In all these different topics and many more that we will talk about in a few minutes, maybe, we have experts, we have individuals who are the best in class, you know, in maybe in the US, in Europe, in America, wherever you want, you know, in Russia. We have to use them. We have to use them, and they have to be used by the government state. And what I don't understand from the Republic of Armenia is that for a few years, they have been appointing a minister of diaspora, but the minister of diaspora is not really doing what it should do, you know. For me, the minister of diaspora should be one of the biggest minister. Same with defense, you know, minister. It should be on the same level, you know. The minister of diaspora has so many powers and so many duties on its desk, you know. So this is something that we have to strengthen. And for that, we need an organization, and we need a vision. We need to understand what the Armenian Republic is expecting from its diaspora, and what also the diaspora is expecting from the Republic of Armenia, in both sides, you know, in both senses. So it's really important to set up a real strategy, because that strategy, you know, it's not only a question of money. It's a question of governance. It's a question of willingness. And if you check, for instance, Azerbaijan, because we are now talking about it, and they're our neighbors, if we want it or not, and what they have been doing, indeed, with the money that they have with oil and gas, they have been so intelligent, you know, in working with think tanks, in working with experts, and also sending locally experts and people to be lobbies, you know, in highly important institutions, mainly European institutions, in the US, etc. What are we doing towards that, you know? So these questions are very political, but it's not only political, because this is about the security of our nation as well. So we have to tackle these subjects as well, I think.
I actually absolutely agree with you, Raphael. I think exactly these are issues that should be tackled. And I do also believe that what you both mentioned, that at the moment is, well, for a very long time, the diaspora was seen as a way of bringing into monetary investments into the country. And what would happen to that monetary investments was at the hands either of the government or either the institutions or individuals in Armenia. And there was not really the way of using the diaspora as a tool, using the intelligence of diaspora in the development of Armenia. But now, if we want to get a bit like more practical, I think there is like a huge gap that we're facing, namely, first, who should be responsible for the setting up this strategy that you mentioned, Raphael, right now? Because I do understand the Future Armenian Initiative, as well as a lot of diaspora institutions, are not affiliated with any political group, are not involved in the governmental structures. Please, Talar, confirm this or not, but that is my understanding. So whether it is possible to set up this strategy of how we transform the Armenian diaspora connections and cooperation without the involvement of the government, that's my first question. Is it possible at all? And second, how are we planning on executing it? Because Talar, you said that the Future Armenian goals, like these 15 goals, were based on the model of the SDGs, of UN SDGs. And as we know, the UN SDGs are more or less, they're like soft law, would you say, and they're not, you cannot execute them. At the end of the day, it is upon each country whether they want, they're more like recommendations. So do you believe it is enough at this stage, or to keep this as a recommendation, as a general framework, or should we go a step further, maybe later, to how we can execute and how we can bring individuals to understand that this is something that really should be done?
Thank you, Sona. one thing is very clear for me personally, as well as for the people involved in this initiative, is that you cannot do things without the government. So we really have to find a way to work with the government. And it really, I mean, it's not the amount and the extent of the problems and the challenges we have require us to all collectively work together. You cannot, the government alone cannot tackle the problems that we have. The society alone cannot tackle them. Definitely the diaspora alone cannot tackle them. So we need to come together and to really understand that by complementing each other, we would be able to reach and to solve all those problems, because they are huge and really big and really systemic in a way. Systemic in the sense that it's systemic in the sense of the state, systemic in the sense of the society, and systemic in the sense of the diaspora itself. I mean, we really, as Rafi was saying, we really have to consider this situation we are in after the war as a wake-up call and as a ground zero to start working towards a much better ecosystem for the Armenian nation overall. Because everything that we thought was okay or doing well turned out that it was not, basically, right? We have huge issues with our institutions, whether it's the state institutions, the societal institutions, everything related to institutions has a problem. We don't have a state thinking mentality. State building is not something that we have been very good at, neither actually national building, if you think about it, because nation building is something that happens and requires a constant review and a constant attention by everyone, especially in the elites of a country, to focus on. Nation building has not really happened in the Armenian world, especially in the past 30 years. Perhaps it used to happen a little bit before because we were part of the empire of the Soviet Union in terms of Republic of Armenia, but not afterwards, basically. So all of the senses, all of the mechanisms that are required to move a nation forward have been struggling, have been in a way also absent, if we are going to be completely honest. And those are the things that we need to work on, basically. But again, we cannot work on them separately. We have to work on them together. So the issue is not whether we want to or we need to work with the government. I think the question is, how do we do that? How do we bring people together? What are the mechanisms? And this is something that requires a huge amount of discussion and debate. And that is one of the reasons why we are actually organizing those discussions, so that we could have interesting ideas coming out of them. And there are multiple ideas and multiple other examples from other countries to look at as well. But it's very important for us to really understand that this is a huge issue and that we really have to find ways and options and scenarios to solve it.
Thanks, Talar. I completely agree with you. And I think the thing that I picked up is that at this very moment, our task is to understand that we really are facing a problem, that this bomb that was ticking just exploded after the war, in terms of that our institutions needed really reforms. Our understanding of how the diaspora and Armenia cooperation should work does need a change in its views. And now we have to, once we define these problems, we have to together come up with the solutions and come up with a possible agenda. And maybe afterwards we can get in with the government and make sure that also these agendas can be executed. Am I right too? This was your structure of how we can, yeah. And now if we again talk about changes necessary and what will be not the ideal, but how we can come up with that. Raphael, maybe you can tell from your personal experience, how do you see the effective cooperation between Armenia and diaspora? What is at the moment that we talked, what do you see at the moment that is not working, but in your opinion, how should it be, like in more practical terms, rather than just that we have to be with mutual trust and understanding, but in practical terms, what each person in the diaspora should take care of, and what is the role of Armenians living in Armenia in that process?
So it's a very difficult question, and I don't have any pretension or to have a secret recipe for that. There is no secret recipe, as Talar was saying just before, but there are solutions. I believe there are, and it's true that there are many other countries like Armenia who have a diaspora, and most of the time we use the example of Israel, even if the situation of Israel is very different, because the state of Israel was created by diaspora, which is quite slightly different with Armenia, which was already pre-existing and was really like the reminiscence of the Soviet territory, the Soviet Armenia. So there is for sure a kind of gap, you know, and we have to fill this gap. And the first thing is trust. You know, if you build trust, you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things. You can move mountains. But to build trust, you know, you have to have a government first that is 100% ethical and non-corrupted, you know. So again, I'm coming back to politics, but that's very important because the diaspora is expecting a lot from that. And I am not, and I'm not going to enter into politics here because it's not the purpose, you know, and I'm not either for Pashinyan or against him. I don't care. You know, what I care about is the nation, and it's Armenia first, because governments, they go back and forth and they don't last, you know, but what lasts is our land, it's our nation, it's our culture, it's who we are. And that we have to cherish it and we have to foster it. So at some point, what I can see as a spectator, you know, what I can see is that the last elections, giving again Pashinyan a credit for a next mandate, is quite interesting, because despite the war, despite what happened, despite the fact that he lost, you know, in front of Turkey and Azerbaijan, the people of Armenia is still trusting, you know, is still giving their trust to that person, because he is trying to I think he's trying a bit to shift the tendency that we used to have for the past 30 years that was totally locked Armenia and corrupted Armenia. To be fairly honest with you, I'm not, we have to be honest with ourselves and to see what are the issues and to see what are the problems to solve them. And that was a main problem, corruption. Because if you don't have corruption, then you can start rebuilding trust. You start rebuilding trust for investment, okay? Entrepreneurs that will go there, either Armenians or non-Armenian, and it means money, it means finance, it means economy. It means also, it brings the Republic of Armenia the means to start building a strong nation, and then to tackle all the defense issues, the security issues, the geopolitical issues, and so on. So you need to first rebuild that trust between diaspora and Armenia. And to do that, I truly believe that we need a sign also from the Republic of Armenia. Because from now, the diaspora has been always present, and again, it has been. But now I see a kind of reluctantness, you know, like something, a kind of, people in diaspora are saying, like, we have done so much and look what we've lost. Like, we have been giving to the All Armenian Funds billions of dollars for years to build the roads, you know, in Artsakh, to build the infrastructures, to build the power plants, etc. And what about it? Now it's in Azerbaijan, you know, most of it. So we need to have a clear strategy. And I believe that every Armenian in the diaspora shall have the citizenship automatically. That's the first thing. Automatically, every single Armenian needs to be Armenian and to have the citizenship. So this is for Armenians who left Armenia in the recent years, you know, the recent 30 years, who left Armenia. These people should automatically get the citizenship for sure. But the previous diaspora, the diaspora, or the people who are like me, like from Lebanon, from France, from Syria, from everywhere, from the US, etc., these people who want to be able to have the citizenship, today they can do it because the policy is quite more open than before, you know. So we can ask for the citizenship, the Armenian citizenship, but it's not enough. It needs to come from the Republic of Armenia. It needs to be a call, you know. We call our fellow nation, we call our fellow Armenian nation to get the citizenship, because once you get that, you know, the numbers are very critical. We have less than 3 million people in Armenia, which is nothing. It's a city. So we have to tackle this demographic issue. Then if you give also all the Armenians the ability to have this paper, it's not only a paper, because citizenship means the power to, you know, it strengthens the bridge between diaspora and the Republic of Armenia. So you bring the opportunity for these Armenians around the world who have maybe little links with Armenia to go there, to spend their holidays there, maybe to buy a house there, maybe to go and live there for a couple of months during the year, maybe to totally settle there, because there are many people from diaspora now that want to go and live there, you know. So it's amazing. And once you create that, already you start creating trust, but it's not enough, because citizenship is not enough. You have also to have an institution in Armenia that collects money from diaspora that is 100% irreproachable, you know, that is 100% ethical. Once you get that, and once you know where the money goes, etc., when you have transparency, this is key, then you build trust as well, you know. And finally, I also, again, I believe that we have resources, we have talents, and Armenia needs to focus on 3-4 main strategic things, you know, agriculture, cybersecurity, or let's say IT, and artificial intelligence, of course. We have to focus as well on renewable energy, because we cannot still remain totally liable to and dependent of other countries like Russia, for instance. So these are things that we can tackle, and we can tackle it as a nation using also the talents that we have in the diaspora. So as the Future Armenian is doing, like trying to catch the attention, catch these talents, catch these experts around the world, it needs also to be in coordination with the state to understand what is the strategy today of the state, you know, and how we can face the different issues that we have to become a strong nation, to be proud of. So I don't know if I'm answering, there are so many answers, and I'm not saying that I have a solution, but for me, these are a starting point. And again, the final one would be maybe, and maybe I'm going too far, but I really saw that during the war. I think that sending money like that just occasionally is not enough. We have to be like Jews, you know. Jews, they have a part of their salary that they're giving to the community. And if we do that, I'm not saying that we're sending that money to Armenia. No, no, no. I'm saying that every diaspora in its country, in the US, in France, in Lebanon, etc., they need to have an organization, again, very transparent, that is enabling Armenians to give a part, you know, every month, a part of money of their salary to that organization to be able to have an impact locally, which we don't actually, we don't have an impact locally in our different territories, you know, in diaspora. So basically that's an idea, but and we have to think of it, I think.
I think these are very interesting. I mean, some of them, I would say for me personally, are a bit radical, like giving citizenship to every Armenian, also just considering the reasons why most of the Armenians left Armenia, like the latest waves of leaving Armenia, basically based on immigrations and stuff like that. But I think these are something that we can pick up and maybe develop a discussion and understand what can be the pros and cons of each one. Maybe also touching on the incentives on why should each person from the diaspora actually care, like besides this keeping the emotional part of it out of it, that this is our country and we are on the brink of being non-existing, and maybe in a couple of decades, if we continue with this rate of immigration, with this rate of not understanding and cooperating with each other. is it something that we have to consider when we are coming up with possible strategies, that we have to have further incentives for the diaspora to be engaged in the process? Or do we take it as a granted or as a given that, of course, once we come up with a strategy, it should be the natural thing that everyone will be in it and will join it? Maybe Talar, you can give your ideas on this, or maybe something else that you wanted to say before.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's I'm looking at the time, actually. We have 10 more minutes, so I'll try to be very brief. It's a chicken and an egg situation, Sonajan. You know, we can say that you should care because Armenia needs you, or Armenia is, you know, I think it should be a different way that we look at it. For me, right now, the important thing is to focus on developing Armenia as a country, because we will lose the diaspora and the strength of the diaspora if we do not have a strong Armenia. The raison d'etre of the diaspora should be having a strong Armenia, and therefore that's what we have to do, and we have to focus on for the next decade, if not more, to really build a strong state, robust economy, a visionary, you know, cutting edge sectors, economic sectors, etc. And so, and coming back and as to how do we see the mutualism and how we see the connections, I see them on multiple levels, actually, and I will mention a few of them. As Rafi was saying, on the state level, when we talk about the vision of the country, the diaspora should be involved. Therefore, we have to bring in as many experts as possible from the diaspora for them to be engaged in the strategy building and then the strategy implementation. And once you have that vision of what the nation should be and the country should be, you go down one level deeper into the sectoral strategies. And there, I think that in addition to perhaps having a ministry of the diaspora, I actually don't have opinions as to whether it should be a ministry or like a commissioner's office as we have now. But what I think is, on the level of each ministry, we should have an advisory board, let's say, of people, of experts from around the world who are diaspora, or maybe friends of Armenia. They don't necessarily need to be ethnically Armenian, but their ideas and their recommendations and their experience has to be imbued in everything we do. And then based on that, we would have to build our strategic, you know, sectors, which are those, for example, definitely agriculture, definitely high tech, for example, definitely a few others, right? Maybe healthcare, education. Those are very important sectors that we have to focus on. And so those are some of the very strategic level engagements and mutualisms that I see on the state level. On the society level, and sorry, on the civil society level, we have a lot of organizations in Armenia these days, because I have seen a bubbling up of civil society organizations in the past, let's say 6-7 years, but also specifically most recently in the last few years. And a very interesting point, which is very, very positive, is that there's a lot of people from the diaspora now who are connecting directly with NGOs. A lot of people did support, whether through their expertise and mentorship, some of those NGOs, and a lot of them support financially as well. But it's a very interesting, because it adds on a layer to the level of relationships. 30 years ago, there were not these types of society to society connections, let's say. So that's very interesting, and it should grow, basically, because that's also it enriches the society, and it enriches the relationship and the interconnectedness and the social networks. The third level that I think of is the regular society, the regular citizens, let's say. Rafi and me are very good examples of why we are engaged today. It is because we were engaged from a very early age on, whether it was through our, we were both AGBU, so we were in both, I was in AGBU schools in different countries that I've went through. I've been to AGBU camps. I've been to trips to Armenia through AGBU and other, youth organizations. Those level of relationships are extremely important. And to be very honest, a lot of the friends that I have today, I have gained them through those camps, through those, youth related years, and especially through some of the trips that I've made to Armenia when I was a teenager and then a young university student. So those are very important. And when we talk about trust, Rafi, trust has many layers. And some of the trust that is built and is created in an individual comes from those very early ages and years on. So when we think of the diaspora and the trust relationship between the diaspora and the Republic of Armenia. These are some of the very basic trust relationships that we have to keep in mind. We have to allow as many people from the diaspora, especially the youth, to come to Armenia, to explore it and experience it on their own, and to build those trust relationships. And I think that's very important. So those are some of the levels and the layers of engagement and connections and solutions that I see, Sona. Thank you.
I fully agree, Talar. No, that is true, and it comes from a very young time, you know, and this connection between the youth in the diaspora and Armenia, it's extremely important. Just coming back to one question that you had, Sona, about do we need the kind of incentive, because, or are we building that trust only on emotions? It's a very, very important question. Me, I'm 100% emotional when we talk about Armenia, of course, and I think it's the same with Talar and many involved Armenians throughout the diaspora. Of course, emotion is very important, but emotion is not enough. If we want to catch and captivate and bring people from the diaspora and experts to Armenia, we need to attract them. And people need a good incentive. Okay, it's very, very important. I truly believe that some people would even agree to have a lower incentive by coming to Armenia, but at least they have a sense of purpose and they have something in their life that is meaningful. And that's also a middle, you know, stage solution that is also to be taken into account. But to be 100% honest, in Armenia, everything has to be done, you know. It's a wide door open, you know, to all possibilities there. Any entrepreneur or any young person who wants to invest or to do something or to create a startup, either in IT, but in many other subjects, in education, in agriculture, in environment, in any type, you know, it is possible. But for that, we need also to involve the government to ease the processes and to, again, give the trust so that these people don't go there and be totally like to be, you know, completely lost and have this kind of illusion of being able to do something, but they can't. So that's also very, very important. So for that, you need a very strategic effort from the civil society, but at most from the government, to call, you know, the youth and the talents from all around the diaspora and go there and invest, because going there for just holidays and going there for summer, etc., is not enough. Spending money just you know, around restaurant and do sightseeing is not enough. Bringing your friends, non-Armenian friends, to Armenia and do sightseeing is a lot, but it's not enough. I think we need, again, to bring money, to bring the economy, to bring investment in Armenia. That's the only way to make Armenia a rich country and a strong country. And then we will be able, with this kind of stuff, to be pioneer, because we have brain, you know, that's our strength. Our strength is that we have brain, we have intelligent people, and we have workers. We have people who like to work and who are very loyal. So all this combo, all this cocktail is an incredible cocktail to make Armenia a great country and to make the Armenian nation a great nation, really. But we need, you know, indeed, we need some incentives on each side, and we need attraction. And attraction is indeed very, very important.
Sona, I just want to mention one thing, sorry, very quickly. Rafi, for your information as well, we commissioned a big report about the macroeconomic situation in Armenia and some deep dives about some strategic sectors. And it is ready, actually. Hopefully, we will be able to upload it on the website very soon and let everyone know. But it has very, very interesting information, some sobering data, but also some very interesting opportunities that we have have to be able to capture. So hopefully, you know, especially if in the future we continue these types of discussions, it would be very good that for us to take one of those, for example, you know, whether it's statistics, whether it's macroeconomy, or any one of those sectors, and start digging deeper into trying to understand how we can move forward in a more you know, tangible way. I just wanted to mention about that, the report. Sorry. Yes, go ahead, Sona.
No, great. That is great, great news, and I didn't know that too. And I will make sure to follow and get my hands on it once it's out. I think by way of concluding this discussion of ours, while we started with a bit of heavy topics, a lot of problems that we're facing, a lot of strategies that we have to come up with, both of you, I think at the end, agreed that while we do have challenges, there is a ground for building up the strategies for it. There is a room, there is something positive going on, there is willingness on both sides. And of course, while we cannot expect 10 million of people is willing to work on something at the same time, I do believe that only on sectoral level, as you said, only on the individual level, even doing a little small changes, Talar, can have the snowball effect and can bring the change that we do need. I think, and in that sense, the Future Armenian Initiative is a great starting point to define what are our problems first, and what's and how's of the solutions. And in that sense, I want to thank you both for your time. I hope for our listeners and for our viewers, this fostered a bit more discussion and ideas of how we can move forward, and what does the Armenian diaspora transformation discussion look like in the future as well. And please make sure to reach out to the Future Armenian Initiative or the Armenian Austrian Forum if you have any ideas, if you have programs or plans which you like to see implementing, or just to discuss. I think this is what we can offer, a platform for discussion, and hoping that out of these discussions, the solution that we need will come out. Thank you very much both, and thanks to our listeners and viewers.
Thank you, Sona.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.